biggest political story today was the paint job Anthony Albanese gave his Labor Party. Now, after plenty of lobbying from rebel Hunter Valley MP Joel Fitzgibbon, Albo removed his climate zealot Environment Minister Mark Butler. In his place, one of last election's big losers, former Treasury spokesman Chris Bowen, who I reckon should be just in charge of the arts portfolio, but what would I know? But the reshuffle will still be dominated, as it was today, by talk of Anthony Albanese's tenure, and is he for the high jump? Political editor Andrew Clennell joins me now. Was it a paint job on the ALP they did today?
Yeah, it was a paint job instead of a renovation, wasn't it? I mean, that's not a bad expression you used there. Is everyone going to be sitting around the dinner table tonight talking about the great Labor reshuffle? And there's some big ideas, some big policy ideas, and this year's the year. If you accept the argument of Anthony Albanese that the pandemic meant he couldn't do it last year, fair enough, but now it's time. Because they're behind and they need to produce a reason for people to vote for them. Why would you vote for them at the moment? OK, Mark Butler had to go because he was the climate zealot that over and over again kept talking about renewables, in contrast to Joel Fitzgibbon in the Hunter Valley, who said, what about jobs? What about our traditional Labor voters? You've got to keep coal in the mix. Mark Butler didn't want a bar of that. Yeah, he seemed too ideological and he couldn't account for the cost of the target in 2030 of 45%, which they've now cut, 45% reduction in emissions. So, but the problem is the time to cut him from that portfolio was straight after the election. It's kind of not a good look for Anthony Albanese to do it now because it looks like he's trying to save his leadership. And now he's trying to reframe the whole thing, say Chris Bowen's there because it's an economic portfolio. So that's kind of the way he's trying to do that, but the wrong time to do it, too late.
I want to play something for you today. He was looking for a word, Anthony Albanese, a word that he said he wanted to get rid of. And I thought it might have been a word related to, I don't know, the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. He wanted to get rid of the word opposition or something, but he came up with this. And just, if I can ask our viewers to watch how badly he sold this.
I'm interested, not so much in being in opposition on what titles people have. I'm interested in getting rid of the one word that's the bad word from the titles of the people I'm about to inform you. And that one really bad word is shadow. I want to remove that, and I want to move us to the corridor down the end of this building.
That is not a leader inspiring his followers, asking them to come with me and I'll take you to the promised land of government. It just looked bad, and yet the bloke next to him did okay. Yeah,
Richard Marles sort of outperformed him, and Richard Marles has got leadership ambitions. He does. He doesn't want to get rid of his mate Albo, but should they lose, he'd definitely try and run, I think. So, and you saw a bit of that today. And unfortunately, Albanese, he just doesn't cut through. He to me, often he takes 3,000 words to say something that he should say in 800 words. And as journalists, we're very attuned to that. And people are going to switch off if he doesn't get the message out quicker. Now, look, Scott Morrison talks too much too, frankly. So I earn my money down there listening to both of them. But I think, unfortunately, he's changed his team. People wouldn't even know who his team is. He needs to change himself and his policies, and he needs to get a move on, or he'll probably get rolled.
Here's an example of Richard Marles looking like leadership material. This is him talking about manufacturing and how static the government has been.
Jobs in the here and now. That is what we're going to be focused on. That is what's going to be central to our message each and every day in the lead up to the next election. That is what the next election will be contested about. And that is the choice that we're going to give the Australian people when they next go to the ballot box. Because the vision that we offer stands in stark contrast to the wasted, neglectful decade that has been delivered to this country by this government.
Why wouldn't Marles have a shot at leadership before the next election?
Well, it's a very good question. It's not that easy. There's different party rules. It's difficult to get the support because it's quite splintered and fractured. People talk mostly about plebiscite as the option that people know. But again, like Albanese, she's from the left. Would she connect with Middle Australia and the outer suburbs? that's a big question in doubt. You've got to shake things up against a good political opponent like Scott Morrison. The feeling is Plibersek might be able to do that more than Albanese. In Richard Marles, do you just get someone people don't even know, whereas at least they know Albanese? Those are all the sorts of questions being discussed. People are sitting around over beers and coffees in the sort of Labor and union ranks discussing these things. At the end, they throw their hands up and say, oh, it's all too hard, let's just stick with Albanese and try harder at the next election. Now, as one Labor frontbencher said to me, if we do that, the Labor Party's given up. So that's what they're wrestling with at the moment. Albanese, though, he's pretty confident. He doesn't think Tanya can get the numbers. He thinks Marles is loyal to him. He thinks it's too soon for Chalmers and he can't get the numbers. But that's not going to help him if he takes Labor backwards. And history is not going to reflect well on him if that ends up being the result.
He got very dramatic at the end of the press conference, very dramatic, because he was slapped with questions about his leadership being shaky, and then he delivered this Joe Biden and Anthony Albanese kind of speech. Have a look at what he said.
I remind you that probably there were people in this room who predicted, indeed I can think of a couple, who told me that it was absolutely certain that Donald Trump would win re-election. Absolutely certain. It was a lay-down misere. But a bloke who was a former deputy leader and an experienced politician who'd held a wide range of portfolios and who was someone who was underestimated by some, he's now President of the United States. And I will be the leader of this country after the next election.
Very dramatic there, but obviously he was sick to death of being asked the question. So in summary, what have we got? A slight change, a bit of a repaint of the party, got rid of Mark Butler. Hopefully they'll look at climate and environment through the prism of jobs and what's affordable. That's got to be a good thing.
Yes, where's the policy? Now, he says an IR reform he's going to talk about in 2 weeks in Brisbane. OK, why not announce it today? Why not have some policy to go with the shadow cabinet change up? Otherwise, it just looks like being seen to be doing something. That's a big challenge for Anthony Albanese ahead.
It was a very thin paint job. Andrew Clennell, thank you very much for your time.